What if I told you that the person you crave is already yours? Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now, if you would only dare to assume it. Have you ever wanted someone so deeply it felt like your soul was echoing their name? And yet, no matter how much you think about them, pray, hope, or even cry, they remain distant. What if I told you the problem isn't outside of you, but within your own state of consciousness? Because you do not attract what you beg for, you attract what you are. I remember the moment it happened for me. There was someone I loved deeply. She did not know it at the time. In fact, she had already chosen another. The rational world told me it was over. Friends advised me to move on. But I did something different. I withdrew into my imagination. Every night, I imagined her with me. Not hoping, not wishing, but feeling the texture of her presence, her laughter, her warmth. I fell asleep with her image in my arms. I lived in the end. I acted as if it were already true. Weeks passed, then one night, unannounced, she called. I don't know why she said, but I can't stop thinking about you. And just like that, the outer world rearranged itself to match my assumption. You see, when you act as if it is already so, your specific person must respond. They do not come because you begged. They come because your consciousness commanded it. Begin where all creation begins, within. Close your eyes and feel them as yours now, not as a hope, but as a fact. When you act as if they love you already, reality has no choice but to conform. This world, as you see it, is but a reflection of your inner state. If you live in the consciousness of being loved by them, even if you never utter a word, they will begin to feel it. They are moved by the unseen currents of your awareness. You must awaken in yourself the emotional tone of the relationship already fulfilled. It's not logic that draws them, it's vibration. When your heart sings the song of, I am already loved, the world plays along. The only moment that ever exists is now. When you say someday they'll love me, you delay your desire. Instead say, they love me now. Be bold. Be unreasonable, and the universe will obey. To chase is to confess lack. You are not to pursue them. You are to draw them in by identity. The man or woman who already has the specific person does not chase. They radiate certainty. Your words are seeds. Say things like, they love me more every day. They think of me constantly. They are mine now. The subconscious listens. And your specific person begins to mirror that internal voice. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. Your work is to dwell in the fulfilled desire. The world will construct coincidences, chance encounters, dreams, or even chaos, only to bring them to you. If they seem distant, silent, or cold, do not waver. These are illusions. Continue to assume they are yours. The law will not fail. They will love you badly, deeply, completely, because you love yourself enough to believe it first. To assume a thing is to let it possess you. Not in fantasy, not in desperation, but in quiet certainty. When you assume they are already yours, you no longer vibrate with longing, you radiate fulfillment. You become magnetic. You shift from being the seeker to being the one who is already chosen. This is the first and greatest key in bringing your specific person into your life, not through force or pleading, but through conscious assumption. You do not need to tell them anything. You do not need to write to them or explain your feelings. You need only move yourself into a state where you already are the one who is loved by them, where you are already together. And the outer world will follow. Is finished. The version of you that is in union with them already exists. The version of them who is madly in love with you, aching for your presence, cherishing you like breath, already lives in the unseen. What you must do is match that version of you through the assumption of being. Assumption is not wishing. It is not daydreaming or escaping into fantasy. Assumption is faith clothed in feeling. It is a quiet power. It is the decision to feel now what you would naturally feel if your desire were already realized. When you close your eyes, do not imagine speaking to them as if they are far. Imagine holding them, being held, laughing together, moving through life as if it is already normal to be in love. The mundane things, the brushing of hands, the subtle glance across a room, these are far more powerful than declarations. For when you live in the normalcy of love, you become one with it. You must be careful not to dwell in absence. Most people think constantly of their specific person, but from a place of lack. They imagine them with someone else. They react to the silence. They try to make things happen. But when you react to outer facts, you solidify them. You are no longer the creator. You become the mirror of your old state. Instead, you must become the source. Begin your morning not with doubt, but with decision. Say inwardly, today I walk in the knowing that I am already loved. My person is already mine. They adore me and I feel it. And do not look for proof. Look within for alignment. It is the inner world that births the outer, not the other way around. You may say, but how can I assume they are mine when they haven't spoken to me or they block me? How can I believe this is working? And the answer is always the same. You are not called to observe the evidence. You are called to transform the seed. The moment you plant the seed of assumption and water it with repetition and feeling, the harvest is guaranteed. It may come through strange channels. You may even forget about them. And then one day, they appear, changed, drawn to you without knowing why. That is the mystery of life, obeying the law. Do not be afraid to be delusional in the eyes of the world. The world praises realism, but all things born in the visible were once ridiculed in the invisible. Your job is not to be rational, it is to be faithful. To walk in the world like one who already has their desire is the mark of mastery. You do not need to declare it publicly, you do not even need to act outwardly. The true work is internal. The deep assumption of being together causes the quantum field to rearrange itself, and everything must obey it. Sometimes the old world will crumble around you. Old conversations may resurface. Doubts may appear. People may speak against what you believe. But if you persist in the inner knowing, if you stay in the feeling of being already loved, those things will fade. They will lose their power because your new state has become your dwelling place. You cannot dwell in two states. You cannot say they are mine while checking your phone for evidence that they are not. You cannot affirm love while inwardly fearing rejection. Assumption must be total. You must saturate your consciousness so completely with the reality of their love that even if they walk by you coldly, you smile inwardly knowing the truth. The outer man knows nothing. The inner man knows everything. This is not about mind control or manipulation. It is not about changing someone's will. It is about awakening their higher self, the one that already longs for union with you but has not yet remembered. When you remember who you are to them, you help them remember who they are to you. If you could see from the eyes of your fulfilled self, you would no longer pray for them. You would thank life for them. You would walk lighter. You would smile more. You would feel them walking beside you in the grocery store, hearing their voice as you drift to sleep, responding inwardly when someone mentions love. You would be different. And that is the key. Assume they are already yours, not as a mental trick, but as a living conviction. Let it be the atmosphere of your mind. Let it flavor your thoughts, shape your posture, warm your soul. And soon, without effort, the world will rise up and deliver them, already in love, already changed, already yours. All things begin and end in imagination. The world you see is not a solid, fixed construction, but a mirror, constantly reflecting your inner assumptions, your inner conversations, and most of all, your inner pictures. When you come to realize that imagination is not fiction, but the very womb of reality, you begin to understand your true power. You cease to look outside for change. You turn within, and you realize the only substance that shapes your world is the image you persistently hold in your own mind. Imagination is not a tool to entertain. It is not a canvas for idle dreams. It is the divine creative act in motion. Every relationship, every encounter, every word spoken to you is echoing back a mental state you once accepted as true. If you believe someone avoids you, they must. If you accept that someone is drawn to you, they must be. This is not superstition, this is law. For many, this truth is hard to accept because the world appears so fixed, so stubborn, so outside of us. We are trained to react to it, to analyze it, to struggle with it, to negotiate with it. But the awakened one ceases to negotiate. Instead, they create. They construct inwardly the scenes they wish to see outwardly and allow the law to manifest it without strain. The outer man reacts. The inner man imagines and commands. You must understand that your specific person is not a being separate from your consciousness. They are part of the fabric of your reality, and they respond to the tone and color of your inner world. If you see them as cold, distant, or indifferent, you have clothed them in that garment within your mind. And no matter how you plead or push, they will behave according to that image. But if you dare to imagine them differently, not someday, not when they come around, but now, they must reflect that image. For you have changed the root. You may be tempted to think, I'm just imagining it. That's not real. And yet everything you now call real, your clothes, your house, the sound of their voice, the last memory you had with them, was once nothing but a mental picture. All that surrounds you now was once imagined by you or someone else. The phone you use, the chair you sit in, even your own name was first held in thought. Thought, impregnated by feeling, gives birth to reality. When you close your eyes and imagine your specific person with you, laughing, loving, touching, speaking, you are not escaping reality, you are building it. You are creating a scene so real to your subconscious that it accepts it as fact. And once it accepts, the outer world reshapes to comply. That is the mystery. The outer is always a servant to the inner. I remember once being told by someone close to me, they'll never see you that way. It was a statement made from logic, from observation. I had every reason to believe them, but I knew something deeper. I did not need to change the person, I needed to change my image of them. So I imagined again and again that they looked at me with softness, that they reached out with love. I walked down the street as though I had just received their message. I laughed, as if their love was already mine. And in time they changed, not because they had been persuaded, but because they had been rewritten in my mind. This is the power of controlled imagination. It is not random or occasional. It must be disciplined, focused, and repeated. You must take time each day, especially before sleep and upon waking, to enter the state of the wish fulfilled, to construct scenes that imply the end is already realized. A gentle kiss on the forehead, a whispered I love you, a shared cup of tea. These things, though imagined, are more real than the fleeting shadows of facts, for they will become fact. Let no one convince you that imagination is delusion. The delusion is to believe that the outer world is fixed and you are its victim. The delusion is to think that your specific person can only love you if you earn it. Love does not require effort, it requires alignment. When you inwardly live from the state of already being loved, the person must conform, not because they are under your control, but because the reality you now occupy demands their agreement. You may falter, you may be tempted by appearances, but each time you return to the inner image, you water the seed. You affirm to life that this is the true reality. And in time, the shadows will give way to substance. Your specific person will feel your love as their own desire. They will be moved from within to seek you, to remember you, to cherish you. They will not understand why, but you will, because you imagined it first, because you knew imagination is the only reality. The greatest mistake made by those who seek to manifest love is this: they imagine what they want, but they do not feel it. They say the words, repeat the affirmations, even visualize the scene, but the body remains unmoved, the heart remains untouched. They forget that it is not the image that manifests, it is the emotion behind the image. It is the feeling that is the doorway between the unseen. This is the true creative act, to feel it as real now. When I speak of feeling, I do not mean shallow sentiment or emotional outbursts. I speak of the deep knowing, the inner emotional atmosphere that wraps itself around your thoughts and saturates your being. It is that invisible texture that gives life to your assumptions. Without feeling, a thought is a dry leaf floating aimlessly. But when clothed with feeling, it becomes a seed planted in fertile soil. It must grow, it must express itself. Every person you've ever attracted into your life came not because of your words, but because of the feeling you consistently carried about yourself and about them. When you believe you're unwanted, no matter how charming or attractive you may appear, others will echo that vibration, they will pull away. But when you feel desired, treasured, chosen, without needing anyone to validate it, then the world bends to fit that state. The specific person cannot help but feel drawn to that radiant energy, because they are a mirror of your inner weather. If you want to be loved madly, then you must first feel what it is like to be loved madly. Not theoretically, but emotionally. You must allow yourself to sink into the sensation of their touch, their voice, their presence. You must rehearse the feeling of being kissed, of being admired, of being the only one in their eyes. And you must do it until it feels natural. That is the secret. It must feel natural, not foreign. If it feels too good to be true, then your inner state is not yet aligned with it. And so the work is to stay there longer, more often, more fully, until it becomes your new home. When you go to sleep, your last thought should not be longing, it should be fulfillment. Drift off into slumber as though you have just heard them say, I adore you. Let your pillow become the space where their head lies. Let your breathing synchronize with the idea that someone is beside you, loving you, washing over you. This is not fantasy, it is creation. The subconscious does not know the difference between what is physically true and what is emotionally accepted. And so it obeys the feeling you impress upon it. During the day, when doubts arise, as they will, you do not fight them with logic. You return to the feeling. When your mind says, they're not here, you reply inwardly, but I already feel them with me. That one shift of attention is enough to neutralize the old belief and re-establish the new one. This is not about forcing belief through repetition. It is about softening your body and inviting the sensation of love to dwell in you over and over until it becomes so familiar that the outer world must reflect it. So many chase the specific person, forgetting that love is not about pursuit. It is about radiance. When you carry the vibration of already being loved, you walk differently. You speak differently. You think from the end, not about it. And those around you pick up that frequency. They do not know why they're thinking of you, dreaming of you, remembering your name, but they are. Because the feeling has gone before you and made the crooked places straight. I once knew a woman who desired the return of her lover. He had left abruptly without reason. She was heartbroken, desperate. But she did something wise. Instead of reaching out or explaining herself, she went within. Every morning she sat in silence and allowed herself to feel what it would be like if he were still with her, holding her hand, laughing in the kitchen, whispering soft words. She made no effort in the outer world. She changed nothing except her inner emotional state. 3 weeks later, he called. "I don't know what's happening," he said. "I just feel pulled back to you." The feeling had traveled, touched him, and brought him home. This is not a technique, it is a way of being. Feeling is the magnetic force of creation. It is the signal you send to the universe, and the universe responds with matching form. Do not worry about words or actions. Focus only on the emotion of your fulfilled desire. Let it color everything you do. Let it be the perfume of your day, the song in your silence, the fire behind your eyes. And in that emotional conviction, everything you desire must come, not because you chased it, but because you became it. Time is not what you believe it is. You think in terms of delay, of waiting, of things slowly unfolding in linear fashion, step by step. But reality is not assembled like a machine. It is selected like a garment. It is chosen, not chased. And the longer you entertain the thought that you must wait for your desire, the longer you delay the arrival of what is already yours in the unseen. You do not manifest a specific person by asking how long it will take. The question alone reveals that you are not dwelling in the end. You are still a visitor of the wish, not the owner. When you live in the now, when you truly embody the feeling that they already love you, that they are already with you, then time collapses. It no longer holds dominion over your manifestation. For there is no time in imagination. There is only the now, and everything is available now to the one who assumes it. Do not say, "They will come back," or "One day they'll see my worth." The moment you speak like this, you push your desire further into the future. You stretch the fulfillment away from yourself. It remains forever a horizon you never reach. The trick is to remove the future from your language altogether. Not someday, but this day. Not "I will be loved," but "I am loved now." It is the assumption of immediacy that triggers the movement of life around you. You may say, "But it doesn't feel real," and that is precisely the point. It won't feel real until you insist upon its reality. Reality does not wait to feel true before it becomes true. Reality follows feeling, not the other way around. When you begin to dwell persistently in the state of having what you want without wavering, the outer world must rearrange itself to support that inner shift. It is not a matter of time, it is a matter of conviction. Imagine walking down the street and seeing them across the road. Instead of thinking, "I wonder if they still care," you say within, "They're already mine." You feel it, you trust it, and then you walk away with peace. That one inner act carries more creative power than 1,000 hours of wishing or waiting, because that moment, brief as it may seem, was a moment of timeless manifestation. You were in the end. You chose the reality where you are already loved, and you moved in it. Most people sabotage themselves by constantly measuring progress. They check for texts, watch social media, read signs, but signs follow, they do not lead. When you obsess over signs, you return to the old state of lack. You become like someone who plants a seed and digs it up every day to check for roots. The seed needs stillness. So does your manifestation. Drop the timeline. Drop the need to know when. Dwell instead in the knowing that it is already done. Do not think of love as something to be earned or negotiated. Love is not waiting for the right time. Love is not dependent on logic or distance. Love is a state of being that you awaken within yourself now. And when you activate it within, it reflects without. You must practice becoming blind to the current facts and obsessed with the unseen reality. This is not delusion, it is creative alignment. I remember a young man who came to me heartbroken. His partner had left suddenly, said they needed time. He was devastated. He counted the days, tracked their movements, tried to make sense of it. But I told him, what if time doesn't exist for the one who lives in the end. He looked at me, confused. I asked him to imagine that the relationship had never ended, that the message he longed to receive had already come, that the apology had already been whispered, that the love was never lost, only temporarily obscured. And he did it, reluctantly at first, but each day he dropped the timeline and stepped into the now. Within a month she returned, not with hesitation, but with love, as though she had always felt it. You see, when you live from the reality of your fulfilled desire, time becomes your servant, not your master. The moment you say it is already mine, the machinery of the world begins to bend around that statement. The phone rings, the chance encounter unfolds, the message appears, not because you waited long enough, but because you entered the state that commands the outer world to obey. Time only exists for those who believe they must wait. But for the one who dares to feel now what others postpone for later, all things arrive in startling, effortless ways. Do not wonder if it's too late. Do not count the days. Step into the version of you where it has already happened. Feel it until it saturates your being. Walk as that person, speak from that state. And life will meet you there, on the path you imagined, but in the moment you least expected, because you dropped the timeline, and in doing so you found the power that has always been yours. Chasing is the surest sign that you do not believe you already have. When you chase a person, a situation, or an outcome, you are proclaiming without words that it is separate from you. You are affirming lack. And what you affirm inwardly, you multiply outwardly. The law cannot be mocked. If you want to attract love, especially the love of a specific person, you must first cease the chase. For attraction begins where assumption lives. You are not to seek love like one begging for crumbs. You are to sit at the banquet table of life as one already fed. You are to know that what is yours cannot miss you, and you are to assume your rightful place in the experience of being adored, chosen, deeply wanted, not because someone told you so, but because you feel it to be true within yourself. To chase is to confess powerlessness. It is to move from the outer world inward, as if the behavior of another determines your state of being. But this is the reverse of truth. The outer must follow the inner. The behavior of your specific person, no matter how real it appears, is merely a reflection of how you see yourself in relation to them. If you believe you must earn their love, they will behave as one who withholds. If you believe you are not enough, they will act as though something is missing. But the moment you assume the position of the one they already love, their actions begin to reflect your new position. And this happens without effort. You do not need to manipulate, convince, or explain. You only need to embody the version of you that is already loved. Imagine yourself no longer reaching out. Imagine them reaching toward you. Imagine their eyes lighting up when they hear your name, their heart racing when they think of you. Feel that you are the magnet not because you are superior, but because you have stopped chasing. And in stopping, you have begun to attract. There is a strange paradox in this law. The more you grasp, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you surrender the chase and dwell in the feeling of already having, it comes rushing toward you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became still enough to receive it. Stillness is not passive, it is the most active form of faith. To be still in the assumption of love is to scream louder than any word ever could. I know who I am. I know what is mine. The world will tempt you to react. You will feel urges to check their page, to send one more message, to explain yourself just once more. But do not be fooled. Every time you chase, you affirm separation. You deny your creative center. Instead, go within and create again. See them smiling at you. Hear them call your name. Feel their arms around you. And walk away, not to forget, but to allow life to arrange the pieces. You are not asking them to choose you. You are choosing yourself in their arms. You are deciding that you are enough now. that you are worthy now, that their love, no matter how distant it may appear, is already yours in the invisible. And once it is accepted within, it cannot help but materialize without. It is law. I remember a man who wrote letters daily to a woman who had left him. He tried everything, flowers, gifts, long apologies, nothing worked. But when he finally gave up the chase and turned inward, something shifted. He stopped writing and started imagining. Every night he would lie in bed and feel her next to him, not as a fantasy, but as a quiet certainty. Within weeks she returned, and not because he reached out, but because she felt pulled, drawn, inexplicably magnetized. She had no idea why, but he did. He had stopped chasing and begun assuming. You do not need their permission to be loved. You do not need their confirmation. All you need is your inner agreement with the state of already being with them. Once that is done, the chase ends and the dance begins. The energy you once spent in worry now flows into creation. You become radiant. You no longer beg for attention. You command it through the power of your inner conviction. Ask yourself honestly, if you truly believed they loved you, would you be chasing them? Would you be checking your phone? Would you be doubting your worth? No. You would feel peace. You would feel joy. You would move through the world as one who already has what others are still begging the universe for. That version of you already exists. You must become it. And you become it by assuming it now, with no evidence, no conditions, and no need to prove anything to anyone. That is when the chase ends. That is when attraction begins. Not from desperation, but from being. You are already the one they love. And when you stop chasing, they will feel it too. Words are not merely sounds, they are spiritual instruments. Every word you speak impresses your subconscious mind, and what the subconscious accepts, the outer world reflects. When you understand that speech is not just communication, but creation, you will become careful, even reverent with the things you say, especially when it concerns love and the person you desire. You will realize that to speak is to command, to affirm is to assign, and what you assign through speech, life must bring to pass. Many wonder how to bring their specific person closer. They think action is needed, calls, messages, conversations. But speech directed outward is only a faint echo compared to the mighty vibration of inner speech. The words you repeat in silence are far more powerful than those you shout aloud. They are seeds sown in the field of consciousness, and consciousness never forgets a seed. It incubates it until the time of birth. Your role is not to plant and doubt, but to plant and trust. Speak as though your person is already here. Say, they love me more every day, not as a wish, but as a declaration. Speak as if you are already receiving their affection. They think of me constantly. They desire only me. I am the one they cherish. These are not empty affirmations. These are calls into the unseen realm that summon reality into form. Every time you speak in alignment with your desire, you press upon the subconscious the idea of union. And once pressed deeply enough, it becomes fate. People often sabotage their manifestations through careless words. They say things like, I don't know if they'll ever come back, or maybe they never loved me. And while these may seem like harmless expressions of doubt, they are declarations to the subconscious that you prefer the state of absence. Every word has creative power, and the universe does not take jokes lightly. It responds to your dominant vibration, and your words give voice to that vibration. If you truly want your specific person to love you madly, then speak of them as though they already do. When you think of them, do not wonder what they're doing or who they're with. Instead, say inwardly, they're thinking of me right now. They're planning how to get closer. They feel me and want me. These words are not meant to convince them, they are meant to convince you. And once your inner conviction is established, the outer must conform. There is no delay in the spiritual realm. The moment you impress your desire with clarity and feeling, the chain of events is set in motion. But if you contradict it with fear-laced language, you undo your own work. This is why you must guard your words like treasure. Do not allow idle speech to deny your assumption. Speak only what aligns with the end you have chosen, and do it repeatedly, joyfully, with the confidence of one who knows that what is spoken with faith must be made flesh. You may not see immediate changes, but the changes begin the moment the words are spoken. Life is a mirror, and sometimes mirrors take a moment to catch up. Do not grow weary in your declarations. Each repetition is a hammer strike, shaping the sculpture of your reality. Each "they love me" chisels away the old stone of doubt until only truth remains. And when the form is complete within, the outer must display it. I remember a woman who once felt forgotten. Her specific person had moved to another country, seemingly out of reach. But she did not give in to distance. She sat each morning and said aloud, "He misses me, he hears me, he's dreaming of me." She would speak it with conviction, not desperation. She would walk through her house and whisper, "He's already mine." And then she would smile as if she had received a message. Weeks passed and she heard nothing, but she did not stop. She continued to speak the end. Then one night, a message came. "I don't know why, but I can't stop thinking about you. I had to reach out." She knew why. She had spoken his presence into her world. Your specific person is not a distant figure beyond your reach. They are part of your reality, woven into your consciousness. And the more you speak from the assumption that they are with you, the more tangible their presence becomes. It begins in the invisible, glances, dreams, a change of heart, and then it breaks into form. So do not speak of what you fear. Speak of what you love. Speak of what you desire. Do not use your words to describe the absence of love. Use them to call love forth. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are declaring that you are already chosen, already cherished, already the one they cannot forget. Let your words drip with conviction. Let them carry the fragrance of fulfillment. Let your sentences be soaked in the assumption of union. And as you do, you will watch as life bows to your voice. Not because it must be forced, but because it cannot resist the one who knows how to speak creation into being. The greatest error one can make in the process of manifestation is attempting to orchestrate how a desire will unfold. The moment you concern yourself with the method, the route, the human logic of events, you step out of the creative seat and fall back into the role of a passive observer. And in doing so, you begin to doubt. But the creative process was never meant to be dictated. It is meant to be trusted. When you live in the end, your only task is to remain loyal to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Everything else, the people, the places, the timing, the so-called coincidences, these are arranged for you. That is the bridge of events, and it will always surprise you. You do not need to know how your specific person will come to you. You only need to know that they are already yours. The moment you fully assume that they love you, the world begins its silent movement to reflect that truth. It may begin in small shifts, an unexpected thought in their mind, a dream that stirs a forgotten emotion, a strange urge to check in with you. You may never see these subtle beginnings, you may only witness the final act. But the performance was set in motion the moment you dared to feel it real. Too many are tempted to intervene. They begin to wonder, should I reach out? Should I go where they are? Should I remind them of our history? And these questions, though natural to the reasoning mind, are symptoms of a lack of trust in the unseen bridge. You cannot manipulate the outer world into aligning with your desire. You must instead align your inner world, and the outer will conform in ways you cannot predict. I recall a woman who longed to reunite with a man who had left her. She tried everything: texts, letters, advice from friends. Nothing worked. So she stopped trying and started imagining. Each night she would sit quietly and feel his arms around her. She would hear his voice saying, "I miss you, I've made a mistake." She would fall asleep in the warmth of that assumption, and then she let go of how it would happen. 2 months later, she received a call, not from him, but from a mutual friend, inviting her to a gathering. She went, unaware, and there he was. Not by design, not by effort, but by divine arrangement. That was the bridge, unexpected, perfect, and inevitable. You must understand that the bridge of events is not always pleasant. Sometimes it will feel like loss, like disruption, like things falling apart. But remember, the old must often break before the new can emerge. A job lost may lead you to the city where your love lives. A fight may trigger an awakening in the other person. A silence may deepen their longing. Do not judge the bridge by appearances. What seems like a setback is often the first step toward fulfillment. Your only responsibility is to hold the feeling of the end. The universe will handle the rest with more intelligence than you could ever arrange. And do not look to others for evidence of your manifestation. They are not the source of your desire. Your imagination is. When you live in the end, you do not need updates, confirmations, or signs. Signs come after belief, not before. If you wait for signs to believe, you reverse the order of creation. Believe first, feel it as real, walk as if it is already done. And in that state, you become magnetic to the sequence of events required to bring it forth. The bridge of events will always surprise you because it is designed by a higher intelligence than your conscious mind. What you call coincidence, the law calls precision. What you call luck, the law calls obedience. When you impress your desire deeply upon the subconscious, life begins to move. It nudges others, alters circumstances, opens doors, closes others. You may not see it, but it is always working. Trust it. Even delays are bridges in disguise. Sometimes time is required not to prepare the world, but to prepare you. You may need to shed an old belief, to rise into a higher state, to embody more love. And so the bridge will bring you experiences that polish your inner world until you match the version of yourself who lives the fulfillment you imagined. It is never punishment, it is alignment. You must walk with quiet confidence, even when nothing outside of you has changed. That is true faith. To smile when there is no reason, to give thanks before receiving, to act with joy while the world still looks the same. That is how you cross the bridge. Not by effort, but by alignment. Not by trying harder, but by assuming deeper. When your specific person appears, it will feel natural, not like a miracle, but like a longer-awaited return. As if the world remembered what you knew all along. That is the beauty of the bridge. It delivers not just the desire, but the perfect unfolding of it. And your only task is to remain faithful to the end you have chosen and let the bridge carry you, unexpectedly, precisely, and always in perfect time. There comes a moment in every journey of manifestation when the world around you seems to deny what you know within. The facts appear unchanged. The silence remains. The face you long to see looks the other way. And it is in this moment that most people surrender, not to the dream, but to the illusion. They let appearances speak louder than imagination. They let outer evidence override inner conviction. And so the manifestation withers, not because the law failed, but because they stopped persisting. Persistence is not repetition, it is devotion. It is the decision to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, no matter what the outer world says. It is the ability to say yes inwardly while the world screams no. This is not denial of the senses. This is mastery over them. To persist is to believe in the invisible more than the visible. It is to remember that all things seen were once unseen, and what is felt now will become fact later if you do not abandon it. Your specific person may ignore you. They may say words that cut. They may behave in ways that seem to oppose your desire. But do not let these fleeting shadows determine your reality. They are echoes of old assumptions. You are not seeing their true self. You are seeing a reflection of the state you once occupied. If you continue to react to these shadows, you keep the old alive. But if you remain loyal to your inner vision, the outer must yield. You are not required to fix the outside. You are only required to feel differently within. And that requires persistence, not for a day or a week, but until the inner becomes natural, until you no longer wonder when, because you live in now. The moment it feels normal to be loved by them, the world will conform. But if you stop before this feeling takes root, you postpone your own blessing. Many misunderstand persistence. They think it means effort, strain, or constant activity. But the true persistence is calm. It is the quiet inner knowing that does not waver. It is the refusal to abandon the vision, even when the senses scream otherwise. If they do not call, you persist. If they block you, you persist. If they speak of someone else, you persist. Not by fighting, not by chasing, but by remaining in the assumption that you are already loved. This is where most fail. They are faithful only when signs appear. They believe only when results are evident. But that is not faith. That is observation. To be a creator, you must go deeper. You must persist in the unseen, in the silence, in the waiting, in the contradiction. You must choose to dwell in the truth of your imagination more than the illusion of your current facts. I once knew a man whose specific person said she never wanted to speak to him again. Her words were final, her tone cold. Most would have accepted it as the end, but he persisted, not outwardly, but inwardly. Every day he affirmed, "She loves me, she misses me, she is mine." Not as a hope, but as a fact. He imagined her smile, her laughter, her return. For months he heard nothing, but he remained unmoved. And then out of the silence she returned, not only apologetic, but transformed. She confessed to dreaming of him constantly, to feeling something she couldn't explain. He did not explain, he knew. It was persistence. You are not at the mercy of circumstance. The world does not decide for you. You decide for the world through your inner state. But to command that world, you must hold the image steady. Do not water the seed one day and scorch it the next with doubt. Hold it in your heart until it flowers. This may mean enduring silence. It may mean holding joy in your heart while tears rest on your face. But that is the fire through which your assumption is refined. And once it becomes real within, it must become real without. Every appearance contrary to your desire is not a failure, it is a test. Will you react? Will you fall back into the old self? Or will you persist? The latter opens the gate. The latter changes everything. You do not need to act, argue, or convince. You need only return again and again to the state of already having. And in doing so, you alter the future, not with force, but with faith. Let every ignored message be a signal to go deeper within. Let every delay be a doorway to a stronger assumption. Let every cold moment be the fire that fuels your inner warmth. This is how you persist beyond appearances, not with willpower, but with identity. You become the version of you who is already loved, already chosen, already living the very thing your senses deny. And when you do, the world must catch up, because it always does. Because it has no choice but to follow the one who persists in truth. You have now seen it, the path not of effort, but of embodiment. The process is not one of chasing love, but of assuming it. Not one of waiting, but of becoming. The outer world will always mirror the state within, and when you dare to live from the end, you collapse time, you dissolve doubt, and you awaken in them a love they cannot resist. This is not fantasy. This is the law of consciousness. You are not separate from the love you desire. You are not abandoned, forgotten, or unworthy. You are the operant power. The one who feels is the one who creates. When you assume they are already yours, when you imagine boldly and feel consistently, when you drop the timeline, stop chasing, speak them into your world, trust the mysterious bridge, and persist beyond what you see, then your world must respond. So now, walk as if it is done. Love as if it is received. Breathe as one already chosen. And let the world do what it was always designed to do. Bend to the one who lives from the truth of their desire. They love you now. Speak it, feel it, live it, and let that be your silence, your song, your secret, and your certainty.